Hello, hello. Welcome to the Confidence Cure podcast. Here with me, I have the Dangerz, Jen and Bryan. They have joined me from where are you again? Sorry.
We're in the Caribbean, an island called Bonaire.
Amazing. They travel so much, and I cannot wait to share their story with you. Well, they will share their story with you. So, hello. Thank you for coming.
Hello.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure.
So we met in London a couple of months ago, I think, and you have the most incredible story. Literally, I don't think there's anybody else I know that have got the courage and the confidence to do what you guys have done. So do you just want to explain a little bit about how your life turned into what it was to how it is now?
Um, Obviously, we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been 13 years now living full-time traveling. First in a camper van, now on a boat. But even as soon as maybe 15 years ago, so 2 years before that, we were living a very normal life. So we had jobs that most people would probably be jealous of and that we thought we should try and keep. We had a big house that we thought we would live in forever and have kids in and die in. We had a very, we felt really privileged to have it all, but we also were mostly miserable, right? Like we had met each other, we were in love, we were happy, but we didn't get to spend any time together. I traveled full time for work, off and out of the country, new flight every day. We just never felt like we had enough time or freedom to just kind of enjoy. And at some point, Jen started making what I thought was a joke about running away and quitting our jobs and just moving to a beach in Mexico. And it turned out it wasn't a joke at all. She was very serious.
Yeah.
And so we eventually started kind of making plans to go do that.
Amazing. So just one idea of a joke literally turned into a reality.
Yeah, it was kind of like what would we do if we knew it wouldn't fail? And oh, we would just quit our jobs and we would just go camping for a year and see where we wanted to live next and then move if we wanted to, stay where we were if we wanted to. And so the word nomadic wasn't very common back then. It's a lot more common now, but that's what it was called, even though there wasn't a phrase for it yet.
That's amazing. So at that point, did you actually sell your house and just quit your jobs, or did you keep? What did you do? Like, did you plan to just go for a little bit, or you just like, yeah, I'm done and just left?
Yeah.
Luckily, no, we didn't. Not because we had some genius plan. We fully thought that we'd be coming back. I mean, I think we kind of threw out a year. It'd be great if we could save enough money to go try this out for a year, kind of like a sabbatical, and then just come back and figure it out, right? And obviously, Jen used to say, well, but what if we want to come back, right? What if we decide that like we find ourselves and we're excited to come back? I was like, yeah, that's never going to happen. But we basically we had a lot of work to do, kind of like the work you're doing now, right? Like we had to downsize, we had to purge our belongings, we had a mountain of debt that we had to start working ourselves out of debt, and then try and save enough money to go do this thing. For what we kind of tried to, we had no idea what it would cost, but we pictured our cheapest possible lifestyle, which was living in a van, eating tacos in Mexico, and tried to do the math for what that might mean for a year. And that kind of became our light at the end of the tunnel and our focus. And then the closer we got to it, the more excited we got, the faster we went, the more purging we could do, and all of those things. And it literally became like our life force to go do that thing. So we're building out the van in the evenings, we're working all day, we're renovating homes at night to try and make money to pay off debt, like just all the things. And we just couldn't get enough hours to get there fast enough, right?
So you made the van from scratch yourselves?
Yeah, we when we got it, it was this beautiful old 1967 Volkswagen van, very surf, dreamy beach, like very romantic, but it had carpet on the ceiling. It was like awful, like it was really terrible. And Bry used it as a canvas and we just gutted everything out and he designed a really cool little camper inside of it and turned it into a little home for us and at the time we had a yellow Labrador retriever dog, so the three of us moved into it.
Oh, that's amazing. So you went for a really big house. You just went straight into a van. the three of you?
No,
we downsized along the way.
transition.
Yeah. So as we purged belongings, we were trying to kind of free ourselves from the jobs and tried to work remotely or work from different cities and then different countries. So as we would move, we would downsize. So from a 5-bedroom house, which at the time was a 5-bedroom with a garage, with a basement, with an attic, everything full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we got done purging as much as we could, we moved into a 2-bedroom flat. And then from there, a 1-bedroom flat. And then eventually an underground studio apartment that was almost the size of the van.
Yeah.
Thinking that as we made each one of those steps, then obviously we would have less and less stuff to be able to move into the van. And then obviously the day we had to get rid of that apartment, we realized we didn't downsize enough and nothing fit in the van, or it would fit, but we wouldn't. So then we ended up under a cover in the downpour trying to figure out what to push to Goodwill. What part of this just gets pushed away.
No.
I mean, we eventually got there. And as you said a moment ago, it's incredible how what starts out being terrifying, even in the idea of getting rid of something, just gets more and more normal. And by the end of that process, which is probably 2 years of kind of downsizing and purging, it was like the most exciting day of the month, right? Was, oh, what are we getting rid of today? What are we, and you just can't imagine how much the mind just shifts towards that new goal, right?
Yeah.
But you start breathing deeper, you start feeling more free, you start imagining that you can go and do things, as where before we were just stuck, right?
Yeah. What was that stuck feeling? Was it the stuck feeling of doing the same thing all the time, or was it not being able to go where you want, or not being happy in your relationship because you wasn't seeing enough of each other? What was that stuck feeling?
All of the above.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Routine really got to me, like walking the same route to work and, staying there until 6 and then walking the route home and eating and then going to bed and preparing for the next day, like every day. That was one. And then the second thing was, like, we had hardly any time to travel or to be out in nature or to like explore. And Bryan was working for his job or traveling for his job, but it wasn't the same. He was busy the entire time. He wasn't free to like just wander and experience and discover.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of saying we're human beings, not human doings. So like when you do that race, you kind of like doing this, doing that, doing this. But now you was kind of craving just to be the being and not the doing. So yeah. Going from like that to that, like from the first transition and going straight into the van, when you first got rid of the underground apartment and you couldn't go back after that, what kind of feelings did you get then, knowing there was no going back?
Well, we have very different experiences. For me, I was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, we can do whatever we want. We can sleep wherever we want tonight. We can drive all day, or we can just stay put here. Like, no schedule, no alarm clock. Like, we get to just create our life right now. And then go ahead, Brad.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a switch had flipped. Jen, we didn't even get a day away from home, and Jen could just sit and stare at the ocean and care about nothing, right? She could need nothing and care about nothing. And I did not have that ability. I mean, for me, I don't know if it was, my upbringing, my parents, if it's just listening to society. I don't know if it's my like I'm severely ADHD, so it's hard to slow the brain down anyway, or if it's kind of like the dumb male wiring, that's like, oh, I have to be a provider, or I have to do, that's where my value comes from. I mean, maybe it's all of those things, but it took me a year at least to be able to kind of start shedding those expectations and those understandings. And so we spent most of that time in Baja, Mexico, just literally in the middle of nowhere. We had no cell phone coverage. We had nothing. And it was, I think, maybe one of the most important things for me, right? Because I couldn't get those things that I was wanting so badly, and kind of had to just settle into it. But yeah, it took a long time. And I used to write, we started a blog at one point because we thought we were sharing things with friends and family. We go back and
before Instagram.
Oh yeah, this is yeah, we're old. Hello. Just so you know, this was
older.
Yeah.
have them blocked.
So we started a blog, and we thought that we were writing about our the places we were visiting. We go back and read it now. It was very clearly just like my self-counseling. It was just like it was a tortured mind's journal is all it was. Like it was just fear after fear after fear after fear. And eventually, started to settle into it a little more. I still have more of that than Jen does, to be fair. We get scared by different things. I get scared by the lack of knowing and by the finances. Jen gets scared by the
weather,
the storms and the waves and things like that. So yeah.
Do you think that's because women are very freeing and emotional, and we go by how I feel, but men are very logical, like you said, provider, and they need to know how they're going to actually make sure that who they care about are safe. And did you kind of take on that responsibility, do you think?
Yeah, but what's so interesting about what you said is, in a lot of ways, Bryan and I are role reversal, where like what you just said paints him as a man, but in a lot of the ways that I know him, he has the female characteristics more than the male characteristics, and I have the male.
Yeah, I'm usually the chick in the relationship.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like we're very fluid that way, and not because we want to or because we created that, but because we've just really checked in with ourselves and been like, no, in reality, that's how I react. No, in reality, that's how I feel. And so we've just learned over the years, because we've been together for a hot minute.
How long is it again?
We've learned over the years just how different we are, and how different we probably are from a lot of our like friends and loved ones. And
yeah, I mean, when you spend 23 years now living in spaces the size of a van or smaller, I mean, we're never apart 24/7. Communication's pretty important, right? And so obviously we talk more than most people might think is reasonable, but yeah, it's funny because typically the male is the one to like retreat to his cave, and the woman's the one that's like, let's talk about our feelings, and like we are complete opposites in this way. But when it comes to the money thing, I mean, it's like the last stronghold of stupid male mentality I can't seem to part with completely.
I'm like, everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's gonna work out. And Bryan's like, is it? Don't we kind of have to create that? Don't we have to like do something to spur that along? So both are correct, I think.
Universe will help you, but then you also need to take action to actually create it. So in both ways, it's going to work either way. But yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Which bit do you think was the hardest? That you might again have different perspectives on this. Which bit was the hardest bit of like making the decision, doing it, or actually afterwards, like, oh my God, I've done it? Like, was it that actual starting?
I feel like for us it was such a kind of gradual path of downsize, save money. Everything was just very tiny steps, right? It never, we joke all the time that Jen says leap and the net will appear, and I'm like, leap and sew the parachute on the way down. But I don't know that, other than maybe the day we walked in and gave our notice at work, there was never what felt like a massive leap, because we just kept making small changes day by day. And so looking back, I don't know that, I mean, again, other than just the self-counseling that needed to happen, I don't know that there was ever like a terrifying moment, right? I mean, I know there was one point where the real estate market started to crash, like the year we planned on going, and we didn't yet have all of our savings. And then suddenly, like, the person that was renting our house couldn't pay us, and I freaked out. I mean, for sure, that was a moment where I like tried to pull the ripcord, and I was like, I can't go. We can't do this. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that triggered him thinking about all the worst case scenarios that could happen. A lot of them were financially or like responsibility wise. So he had to we had to work on that for him.
And we paused for like an extra year for that, and thought we saved more money and figured some of that out. And then this time when we put the date on the calendar, we did it in Sharpie, right? So it couldn't be erased or changed. And then as we went to leave again, we still had another major like financial, we had to like replace the roof or something that we didn't plan on. And it was like 30% of the money we had saved. And so, I think life will test you in that way when you're ready to make that final leap. it's going to throw something at you to see if you're really committed to it. And even if it doesn't throw something at you, you'll make something up, right? Because you so badly have the fear of doing it. And so for us, it literally just got to the point where we're like, wow, like there can always be one more thing that comes up. Maybe we can't stay gone as long, but we're still going, right? And we still went in, said we're quitting, and went. And honestly, best single decision we've ever made, because then everything else after that was just kind of an accidental series of events based on still feeling like small steps at a time, right?
We were actually each step was kind of really big to get you where you were, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it just didn't feel like it, right? I joke with people all the time that, I mean, you talk with a lot of them too, right? Everybody that's afraid to move, fear always just makes us sit in one place.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that whatever change you make is a step. It doesn't even matter if it's in completely the wrong direction. You moved from that place that you felt stuck at. And at least now you know that wasn't the right direction. And so you've started the meandering path to get somewhere, even if you started in the wrong direction. And so for us, I think it's just a constant state of movement that makes the steps not feel as big, right? You just kind of keep trudging along and realize, oh, no, that's not quite right. You bounce off that rail, you go back this way, bounce off that rail, come back to the middle. And look, decisions don't get any easier. Like we're in the middle of massive, what should be terrifying decisions right now. We have no idea what life holds next week, much less even next year. But at some point, you also, it's a muscle like any other, right? Like we just find ourselves, even me, getting more and more and more comfortable with the unknown, and I'm still not comfortable with the fact that we don't know, but I do trust that we've reinvented ourselves 6 or 7 times over now. So why couldn't we figure it out this time, right? And so you kind of, I don't know, you just start, the brain really evolves to all of these things in a miraculous way.
It really does, it really does. Did you actually get help? Do you know, like at the start when you said like your mind was taken over and the ifs, the buts, the how, did you actually get help with how to rephrase it in your mind, or did you just like?
Oh no, that would have been genius though. I again, maybe it's that male mentality that's just like, I can't go talk to a counselor. That would be horrible. No, and we also didn't feel like we had the money, and we were in the middle of nowhere with no cell service. It was like, I talked to the dog a lot, tried to talk to Jen about it, you know, like, no, I desperately wish I would have done that. I think that would have been a much faster path towards health and stability, as where I just, I don't know, toughed it out for some stupid reason.
Well, you started like sketching and you started creating art. That was a way for him to find something to like get him out of his mind, was to like start drawing.
Yeah, between the writing and other creative ventures, it got there. And again, still, that's not to say Bryan's suddenly healthy. Like this is still very much a work in progress.
We all are.
Even 13 years later, right? Yeah, exactly.
We're all work in progress. I think every single one of us.
Yep.
In this time, has there ever been a time where you've actually gone, oh my God, it's the wrong decision? Even when you was going through the hard periods and like all of them, are you glad that you actually took the leap and like you just like, yeah, it was the best thing I've ever done?
Yeah, no.
No. In fact, I think kind of the opposite. We sort of forget that, well, I forget. I don't want to talk for Bri, but I sort of forget what our life was like before. And so then I therefore forget what other people are experiencing and how hard that can be to feel stuck, or to feel like I'm not really living like fully right now. I'm kind of just going through the motions and there's got to be something else. I vaguely remember feeling that way, but now we have felt freedom and choice for so long that I say it very humbly and very gratefully, but that's more normal to me.
We at one point, I mean, a couple of times we've tried to go home. Like we've tried to go to normal, right? I mean, there was at one point, you know, after a couple years on the road in Mexico, that we're like, oh, you know, let's go home and see friends. And on the flight home, we're like, wow, you know what's going to happen? Like all of our friends are having kids. We're going to settle in. We're going to get used to it. We're going to have kids. Like, are we okay with that? And we're both like, yeah, I think we are.
I think so.
And then we got home and it just went hard the other way.
I guess we're not.
Like the universe, it's like the universe was shouting to us that we just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And now, you know, we've gotten so far to the opposite side of normal that, you know, a couple years ago, we spent 90 days on an uninhabited atoll and almost never saw other humans. And even during that process, I mean, we were stuck there, so that's why we're there so long. But even during that process, we kind of just forgot that most people don't live that way. And now, I mean, it's kind of like going back to London. We went from that life, not quite that extreme, to showing up and meeting all of you in London. Even though there's people we've already connected with and we care deeply about, it's just culture shock to go back to that type of mayhem, much less cities and towns and cars. And yeah, I mean, it's easy to, again, the brain's an amazing thing, right? It can convince you anything is normal and everybody else is like you. And then it takes a conversation to go, oh yeah, no, that's not how most people do things. Yeah.
That was a massive thing coming to London then, seeing all them people, going from just the two of you and then hundreds of people there. It was so busy. Was it like a massive shock to yourself? Did you feel like any anxiety, or was you like, okay, this is just a one-off, like I can get through this? Or was
You didn't see me standing in the corner the whole time, like
I think we would forget that we were out of our element, and then it would just hit us or hit me or hit Bryan that like, whoa, like the sounds and the noise. I remember the lights being so artificial and bright. We're so used to natural light. Like the weirdest, littlest things were actually like really loud and really impactful. And
forgetting to look both ways before you cross the street. I mean, just, you know, things that can actually kill you.
The train.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we actually several times
Got smushed in the train system.
like, everybody's all like, mind the gap. It's not the gap that gets you, it's the door that tries to kill you when your backpack's outside and you're inside and the door's anyway. I mean, we traveled after London for another, what, 2 months solid, 2.5 months, just hopping around Europe. And it was lovely. I mean, it was a trip of dreams.
Yeah.
But man, we were just overwhelmed the whole time, right? Because we're moving constantly, which we're used to. But everywhere we go, we have our home with us. We have all of our things with us, whether it's a van or whether it's the boat. It's so easy, right? You don't have to think about anything. You have all your stuff. You're just moving locations and life is the same, close to the same. That wasn't this trip at all. And so by the time of, you know, by six weeks in, we're like, oh my God, I don't know if we can keep doing this. And so that's why we ended up coming here, because we were just starving for
simple
calm, peace,
nature,
simple ocean, sunrises and sunsets. I mean, our days are now entirely driven by sunrise, sunset, and how much time we can be underwater in the middle, right? Like that's
He said to me the other day, he was like, if you need a time, we're just going to be scuba diving. And do you know how many times when you're trying to organise a time, if somebody would be like in between picking the kids at the school run, dinner time, tools, this, and you guys were just like, yeah, so if you need us, we'll just probably be scuba diving. It's like, you don't hear that very often, which is really good. So, oh, I did have a question, but I forgot now. Oh yeah, so do you know when you... What was that, sorry?
I said, I bet it was a good one too.
It was. So do you know when you're listening to people's conversations now, just like in general, I bet like in London you, or wherever you was in Europe, or listening to friends and family of their normality, do you see that as they're weird or you're weird, or what's normal, what's not normal, or do you get bored by their conversations because it's all kind of, everyone's doing the same thing in society, aren't they? Like they've all got the same kind of thing. Do you just get bored because it's all kind of the same? How do you look at other people's lives now you're not in it?
No, we definitely know that we're the weirdos. We definitely feel that, and we're okay with it because we're happy weirdos.
Yeah, it's very clear that we're the one that doesn't fit it, right? But no, not bored, because everything's different. That lifestyle's different to us. Like, we enjoy the conversations. It's certainly fair to say that the ones we enjoy the most are when people are on the precipice of change, right? I mean, we now talk to a lot of people who are seeking something different. They're seeking freedom. They're asking us how to get there. Used to be that those were the conversations we had around a campfire because we just happened to run into someone, right? Yeah. Now the campfire conversation is something that more happens because they found us and they're like, hey, we want to talk about that. which is great. I mean, those are the conversations that light us up.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, no life is boring or wrong. It's just different, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we have a lot of friends that still live that normal life, have 2 kids, they're happy, they love their jobs. That's all we ever wanted. I mean, we're actually jealous, or were for a long time, of people that loved their job, because that would have been so much easier than what we ended up having to do just to try and find that same happiness, right? Not right or
Yeah.
wrong. It's just what's right for each person at that phase. Because it's also not to say that another decade or 2 goes by that we're not going to want something different, that they're not going to want something different.
Yeah.
It's just a question of, are you open enough with yourself to actually do that, right? I mean, we still ask ourselves that every day, and each other every day. Are we happy where we're at? And that's not just this location, but being on a boat, the lifestyle that we have, are we happy? And if we are, great, let's stay right here. And if we're not, we change it right away, right? I mean, that's the difference to me that's really freeing, is that the mentality has just shifted to, we get to do whatever we want.
I love that. A lot of people right now are just stuck in the, like, I'll be happy when this happens, or I'll do this when this happens. But you guys are in a position now, like, if you're not happy, okay, we'll just next hour pack up and just leave. Like, you can just change it instantly. And the fact that you keep on reflecting on it and you're not just waiting, and that stuck feeling that you've lived with before, it's just completely gone.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, you totally nailed it. I also think part of that, the reason that we can do that is because we're okay not having it all figured out. We go in the direction that we feel is going to make us the happiest, bring us the most joy, knowing that we have to figure it out on the way. We don't have the answers. We don't know what the finish line, where the finish line even is, if there is one. We're just like, all right, are we going to do this? Yeah, let's do it. Let's go after it.
That's amazing. In London, you said the scariest bit of your trip was the bit where, like, a lot of people didn't even make it, and you still had the confidence and you just courage to still do it. Like, what made, even though a lot of people didn't come back and you still managed to do it, what thoughts did you get then when you were thinking, I might not come back from this? Why did you still do it?
I think it's always the destination for us, right? Like, I mean, we never set out to, I mean, we didn't know how to sail when we bought a boat, right? At least in the van, we knew how to drive, right? We didn't know how to build a camper, but you can figure that out. Google's great. But the boat was entirely foreign. We didn't know how to sail it. We didn't know how to turn the lights on and off. We didn't know how to flush the heads, toilets. Like, all of that was just impossible to us, but we figured it out. And then when there was no goal to cross the Pacific, right? I mean, that's absurd to us. And it was even a couple months in. But then the closer we got, the more people that were also doing it. And you're like, oh, well, okay. I mean, if all these people can do it, I guess it's fine. And you just kind of keep, again, getting closer and closer and less scared because whoever's around you. I mean, the interesting thing for us is that, we talk about it all the time, when we lived at home and we were terrified to make change, but we felt so stuck that we had no other option. All I needed was one person. Just show me one person that had left without a plan and without a retirement and without a savings, and they survived. And I would have been like, great, let's go do that with them, right? And we never found that person. We never met anybody, and still haven't until we got out here, that could help coach us on how to get there or tell us what made them survive. And now, when we're on the boat in a bay with, let's say, 8 other boats or 3 other boats, all of those people have done the same thing. And so now we spend all of our time talking with all of these people that have gone and bought themselves some kind of freedom because they took whatever risks were involved, right? Some of them, it's after their kids have grown up and gone to college and they've sold the house. Some people, it's a gap year or 2, all different stories, and everybody got there completely different ways. But we only needed one. And now we have this just incredible nightly conversation with other people about how they got there. But when you're stuck at home, you never get that, right? I mean, until you start on the path, you're just not going to run into those people. You're not going to be standing around that campfire. You're not going to be sitting on a boat looking for someone to share a sundowner with. And it's a travesty, right? I mean, there's got to be some way that those of us that are out there can do a better job of connecting the idea. That's why we take calls like this, right? There's got to be some way to let everybody else know, hey, it's okay. Like, you're going to survive. There is another path. You just don't know it when you start out, right? Nobody knows it. Maybe YouTube's helped a little bit, but certainly
what you
for us.
Yeah.
did you do a lot of research and like try to get some guidance of what you was doing before?
I
Yeah.
tried, but there wasn't.
Brad really was searching for that. But this was before Instagram. This is like in the early times of Facebook. It wasn't even really that big of a thing yet. So Brian's really, he's searching for blogs or books. That's it. That was really all. And there weren't any. There was one, but
And then even YouTube only took off after we had left, right? So like the idea now, there's a bunch of cruisers that do, you know, cruisers, people that live on boats
or van.
or van life.
Yeah.
All these hashtags took off way after we did it. And people started sharing their stories, which is amazing. But we didn't have any cell coverage or Wi-Fi, right? So we couldn't go watch YouTube to see what other people were doing. We just kind of kept moving along, doing our own thing. And then we'd eventually meet someone and be like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. Wish we would have thought of that. And it's better now with Starlink. Obviously, we do have the ability to be in the middle of nowhere and get online or connect with other people, but that's only 2.5 years old for us. So maybe 9, 10, 11 years of our 13 was, I don't know, pretty reclusive, I guess, right? Both physically as well as connection wise.
Yeah, very isolated. No, it's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. Like you live in a lot of dreams that a lot of people want to live, but 99% of people don't have the courage and confidence to do it. So
I mean, I didn't either. Let's be very fair. Like I'll be the first to. I mean, I tell people all the time, the reason we share our story so openly, or I'm committed to sharing it so openly, is that I'd be dead. I mean, I was already cruising towards a heart attack at that job. If I hadn't have fallen in love with Jen, and I got lucky enough that she fell in love with me, and for her to save me by getting me to go and find it another way, I'd be dead. And not everybody gets lucky enough to have Jen move in next door and, you know, spend X years counseling you through it, right?
There's pros and cons to everything. Just throwing that out there.
True. That's true.
When you say you would have a heart attack, was that through like stress because of work and pressure? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you may have already figured this out, but I'm hardwired for it, right? I mean, not only the ADHD and kind of the expectations from my childhood and what I just thought I was supposed to do. I never slept, right? I mean, I'd go days at a time without sleeping. I'm still not great at it, but I'm getting better. And so, yeah, it was crazy unhealthy. I was traveling and on the road every day. So I was eating horribly. Yeah, I mean, and the doctors would tell me the same. They're like, you know, I go in for a checkup and they're just like, you need to stop. Like you need to change something dramatically or you're going to die. I'm like, oh, well, that's really
this
nice.
is in his 30s.
Yeah, or 20s even.
Or even 20s.
Yeah.
So actually doing the most fearful thing has actually saved your life, basically. Like doing something that was really scary has actually saved your life then, hasn't it?
Don't actually think about it that way, but yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Well, that was well said.
And it's certainly fair now that we check in a lot because now we are in a place where obviously life, like literal life and death scenarios happen on the boat when storms happen and things like that. Yeah. And, you know, you kind of get done with a terrifying moment and you check in with yourself, like, why are we doing this? Why are we out here? But the simple answer is that it's one day out of a year, or it's one day out of 6 months, right? That's a pretty good balance. And every day at home, we could get hit by a bus on the way to work, right? And so at some point, it's not about how scary that thing is. It actually becomes more scary to waste all those other days, right? Like how many days are we going to waste in our life out of fear when we could be doing other amazing things? And again, that's a brain shift. I get it because I was never there before. But fear now just has a completely different aspect, right? I mean, we just caught ourselves yesterday talking with some, we didn't realize they're sailors, right? And they're kind of just getting started. So we catch ourselves forgetting that, you know, storms are scary and crossing oceans are scary. And our fun day is to go jump in the water and snorkel with 250 sharks. Like that's just what we do on the daily basis. And we forget until it comes out and you watch people just, that's not That's maybe not normal or what other people call fun, right?
The thought of swimming with sharks does give me a little bit of anxiety feeling, I'm not gonna lie.
It's very peaceful, actually.
How do you know they're not going to try and eat you?
Well, they're not really interested. They're actually more afraid of us than we are of them. We'll have you on the boat and we'll take you out and ease you into it like we do a lot of other people. But no, it's I mean, they're fascinating, beautiful creatures. We all just got really damaged by a movie called Jaws, and we don't seem to be able to overcome it, all of us, right?
That was a scary movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you hear like in the news and how like there's been a shark attack or something like this, and that I'm fearful of sharks, so swimming with 25 is not something that's on my list to do.
No, 250.
Oh no.
But no, it's really funny if you look at if you Google most dangerous animals, and there's this really cool diagram which we should have on the boat for people that has all the different animals and the number of deaths per year. And sharks are so far down the list, it's incredible compared to all these other animals that were around all the time. It's just Jaws. Like Jaws ruined entire generations of humans, and it's a real pity, actually.
Because people do refer to the ocean, the scary ones, as sharks. I do myself. I wouldn't know because I don't spend time on there. So, do you know that you said that you've had people on your boat and you take them out and you do? Is that what you do to like still earn a living as you are, like to fund how you're living and traveling?
Some of it.
Yeah,
we're still figuring this out, just for the record.
We're still figuring it out. We've had mostly just loved ones on the boat. And then a couple strangers came on that we didn't know how that was going to turn out, but it was amazing. And people that respected nature and respected just experiences that being willing to just
try it.
Just try whatever.
There's the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, we came up with this idea back at COVID and then had to cancel it because of COVID. But our idea was to have this we called it breakaway retreats, right? The idea that somebody could come on the boat, we could talk about, go through different exercises about how to, do some goal setting and dreaming and whiteboarding and how to free yourself, but do it in the middle of nature when you're truly experiencing kind of the calmness and these vibes that we can't recreate anywhere else. And so we've been working to kind of get back to that point where, we now feel comfortable enough having people on the boat, and like all these other things have shifted, that now that we're so embracing and enjoying those conversations that we think we're ready to do that again. It's just always been really hard because we, as mentioned, spend a lot of time alone, right? And so for us to give up our peace and alone time has been a big hurdle. But then we've also had so many of these really great experiences where we're like, oh, wow, like we were so terrified that it was going to be a miserable experience. And then they get on board and like, wow, like in sharing our lifestyle with other people is actually really cool.
Yeah.
It's just that, again, for us, that was another fear, right? I mean, fear just shifts to somewhere else. It doesn't go away. You don't get rid of fear. You just get better at addressing fear and admitting that it's going to go along the ride with you, right?
Yeah.
Like you just take it with you.
And one of our guests had never snorkeled or been in the ocean with a mask before. So watching her experience that for the first time, when it's like our favorite thing to do ever, and like just her talking to her after we get out of the water, and it was just such a beautiful, it just reminded us of the beginning, because we, like we said before, like you start to feel normal what you're doing. But she reminded me of the first time I snorkeled, and it's just a beautiful thing to be reminded of where you were, where you are, and also to think about like where you will be in the future.
And it's just magic, right? I mean, even those people that are terrified of the ocean, and our last two guests, one had just never been in the ocean and she was incredible, like real champ. She was just like, this is great. And she was gone.
Yeah.
The other one loved the ocean, but was terrified of sharks.
Afraid of sharks.
And so to kind of, I don't know, go through that process. And then both of them, by the time they left a week or so later, were just couldn't get enough, right?
Want to come back.
The one that was afraid of sharks.
Time in the ocean.
The one that was afraid of sharks, we actually went out on a fishing trip for her partner. And while he brought in this big yellowfin tuna, which was a pretty amazing day on its own, this massive, I don't know, 6 meter tiger shark came up. And so I'm in the water while he's pulling this fish in. And she jumped out of the boat to get in the water with this massive shark, right? And we're like, well,
In the
so
open
that went
ocean.
pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah.
3,000 feet deep. I mean, it's incredible. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's really fun, actually. Like this is our new shift, I think, is realizing that we don't have to be terrified of people, that there's actually a really fun connection that can happen in that kind of controlled way where people are looking to make a big change. And we love talking about that, much less doing it in the right environment.
And the fear that you can overcome by something like that, a fear of the ocean or a fear of deep water or a fear of sharks, when you overcome something like that, then think about taking that back to your life and all the things that are scary in your normal life. You have just exercised that muscle of overcoming fear, of looking at fear and saying, I'm afraid, but I am going to power through this and see what happens. And that doesn't mean you always have to power through every discomfort, but if you feel like trying to power through it, and you may be surprised that you want to keep going because, wow, I feel very courageous right now, and I just experienced something I never thought I ever would. So it's an analogy for life, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's like the pot of gold's right at the bottom. You have to get there. You have to get working through the fear. You get to see what you actually want, but you don't get there unless you work through it.
Yeah.
To be very clear, we don't consider ourselves adrenaline junkies.
No.
Or fear. Like we hate we don't like that feeling either. Like our entire goal is to live a calm, peaceful life, right? In the middle of
beauty, nature,
beautiful calendar view, for sure. And so, we tend to forget also that, we actually think of ourselves as being risk adverse. And then we get in conversations where people are like, oh, well, maybe not that adverse. Like it's just a different scale. And it doesn't seem, none of it to us seems that terrifying because again, it's just a small bit further than where we were before, right?
Yeah, and just being in the ocean in remote places and having that experience for ourselves. And then when we run into another boat, they also have the same experiences. So we're around people. We're not the only ones in the South Pacific swimming with sharks. Everybody is. The locals, the sailors, the people on vacation, and some of them, it's their first time, and some of it's their 1,000th time. And there's all that whole spectrum in between, but it's very normal in some lives. And it feels very weird when you say it to someone where it's not normal in their life,
Yeah. But if there's someone had told you this 20 years ago that you'd be on a boat swimming with 250 sharks, what would you have said?
No way.
No way.
I feel like we have this conversation really often. It's not even once a year. Like the gratitude is immense in us, right? Like we feel like this is a gift that we stole that could be taken away at any given point in time. And we live every day as though that's true. And I think up until every one of these events happened, we would have, even the day before, we'd have been like, nope, there's no way that's going to happen. We knew when we saved up for years to move into a van and go live for a year in Mexico. Sure, like we did the work to get there, but even right up in the end, we still thought it was going to fail. We knew when we made that choice to quit our jobs that we knew for a fact that we were giving up ever having that nice of a house again, or much less ever having this boat. That was a dream, but we didn't know anything about how to get there. We knew for a fact we were giving that up. And so when we then, didn't have jobs for X years, kind of started a couple little businesses or passion projects along the way, but now suddenly we're trading a van for a boat. And we're like, no, that's not possible. But that's not how this works.
Is that when you didn't know how to?
Yeah. Oh no, I had no idea how to sail.
It is drive the boat or sail the boat. I don't know. How do you say it?
Either one is fine. We didn't know how to do either one. Yeah. I mean, we never even had motorboats in our families, or we didn't know how to start the outboard in the dinghy. We're like, well, it kind of looks like a lawnmower, so it must be close to that, right? We had no idea. And at some point it was just like, oh, great. I guess you know, the cards just fell into place for us to do it. Let's go try. And we rented a car and we started driving cross country to get to the boat. And about halfway there is when we looked at each other and we're like, oh my God, what if we get seasick? What if the dog doesn't like it?
What if the dog hates it
like-
and she's like our world?
Like we just put every dollar we've ever had in the world into this thing. What if we get sick? I mean, most people would have had that conversation a little bit earlier, right? Yeah.
Good news, we don't get sick.
Yeah, great news.
Did they take the dog on the boat as well?
Well, yeah, and she loved it. She was a senior citizen, like a very mature dog. She was 13. And we found while we're driving around in our van pre-boat that she's just sleeping all the time. Then she'd get up and play and eat, and then she'd go back to sleep because she's, you know, so old. And we're like, I bet she could do this on a boat. So we just moved her big bed from the van to the boat, and she was so happy. We lived out her final 3 years on the sailboat.
Oh, that's amazing. So when you handed in when you handed in the van for the boat, was that when you didn't know how to sail it or do anything with it? So you had to learn while she was living on there and how to sail it.
Yeah.
Literally we just had this mantra, like one thing a day. We're going to learn and do one new thing every day. And obviously many times you go to do it and you're like, I actually don't know how to start. So you'd have to do the research. YouTube was great at this point, right? We were in a place with Google. And then we just kind of, we did that. We'll still tell you we're rookies, right? I mean, we've been living on a boat full time.
Every sailor will tell you that they still do not every, some, but most will tell you they still don't know as much as they need to know. There's always more to learn because Mother Nature is very, very mysterious and has her own agenda that we are just trying to figure out and trying to find certain patterns. But it's
never the same twice.
Never
so how do you learn, right?
You didn't go through like the Pacific or anything before you'd learned, because I know that you went through the storms and everything like that. Imagine if you'd have gone through the storms not knowing. That time you did know how, right?
You had storms along the way, but it's
not that big.
Not that big. Yeah. It's all relative, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of swim further and further out. You kind of learn more and more as you go. And we made lots of mistakes along the way that we, don't really love to talk about, but they happened. And I mean, look, we would normally not suggest people jump in the way we do. We tell most people, if you have the time and you have the money, go take a course, like learn how to sail. Obviously there's things we just don't necessarily condone, but it worked, right? I mean, we're both still here, so it worked. And I'm sure if our path takes us back to being on a boat or another boat, we're going to have more storms. There's going to be more frightening moments. Hopefully we can say the same thing at the end of that, right? I mean, either way, it's better than getting hit by a bus on the way to work.
Exactly. You've lived it to write the story. Literally, you've done that. Which was the scariest bit out of everything? Even the near-death experiences and the storms and just out the whole 13 years of traveling. What's been out there where you've been like, I didn't think I was actually going to get through that, and you did, obviously.
I would say, I mean, we had one massive storm right after we got to French Polynesia. That was unforecasted. I mean, normally, we sat in the Caribbean for years, when a hurricane's coming, right? It forms, you have time to figure out whether you're going to run away or hunker down. This was completely unforecasted. It went from being so calm that you could see your reflection in the water, in the ocean for 2 days, to literally being a class 3 cyclone within seconds. And it just sat on top of us. And we actually, for the first, say, 3 hours of it, we thought we were going to die. And it was somewhere about 3 hours in where we finally, I guess, took a deep breath. Again, it's like anything else. You think it's a quick thing. It's going to pass over. It's going to pass over. It's going to pass over. And so you never give yourself a chance to actually settle in and just say, am I actually going to die? And so about 3 hours in, I think we finally just, honestly, I think we're just giving up. Right? We're so exhausted and tired that we're like, there's nothing else we can do. We're going to lose the boat. But even if we lose the boat, we're just going to sleep in that shack on the beach. Like, we're not going to die because the boat crashes onto the land. We're just going to lose everything we own. But we've done that before. We can reinvent again. And then that shack on the beach got blown away, and we're like, well, we're not going to sleep there, but we're going to sleep somewhere. And it just somehow, like, as terrifying as that event was, it wasn't that the storm had gone away. Our mental shift happened that made us realize, like, unless we do something stupid, which is certainly a risk, we're probably going to be fine. Like, that's not what this fear was about. The fear was just lack of control, a horrifying environment. We're going to lose all of our belongings. But at the end of the day, once we reframed it, it's amazing how it wasn't great. Let's be very clear, but it was amazing what a different experience it was from that moment on. Right.
And we survived, and our beautiful, resilient boat survived.
Yep.
And I actually have a different answer to that question, which is
I love how you both experience the exact same things, but you both see it in a different light. I think it's so
yeah.
good.
I mean, I do remember that moment very vividly, that 5 hours very vividly. And the 5 hours after that were like, whoa, what just happened? And okay, we're all right. But the scariest moment for me was when Bryan and I were sailing in the Caribbean, and we were offshore, and Bryan was in the water, and I'm on the boat, and the boat is sailing away from him. And it was up to me to find a way to turn this boat around and go and find my husband floating in the ocean. It was very scary. I had that moment where I was like, what are we doing out here? Why are we out here? If I lose him, this is not worth it. Spoiler alert, he's okay. I saved him.
Yeah, I mean, to Jen's credit, like, this is one of those cases that we don't necessarily like to talk about, but good work, Jen.
Yeah.
You know, we had not done all the proper drills, like, you know, man overboard drills. There's certain technique you would use to steer the boat. We obviously were like, no, we're still busy learning. We don't want to learn that yet.
Yeah.
And like, I fell off the boat. We had a series of events where we got fishing line caught in the rudder. And so we stopped the boat, and then I got in to try and remove the fishing line, but we didn't do it right. So the boat kept picking up speed more and more and more, to the point where I could barely hold on. And just a series of mistakes that now seem so simple.
Yeah.
But still ended up with her watching me go the other way and me watching her sail away without me.
Yeah.
And
it was definitely a rookie mistake, because we can see clearly all the things that we did wrong that contributed to that scary moment.
I would have called that our stupidest day, not our scariest day. But yeah, I mean, it was big seas. There were points where I couldn't see the boat at all. And if I couldn't see the boat, she couldn't see me. I didn't have a life jacket on because I was trying to dive under the boat. There was no way. Yeah, I mean, Jen did an incredible job.
And I'd never handled the boat by myself. We're always a team. So I had to, like, and I sometimes freeze under pressure.
Imagine.
I was like, stay alert.
Yeah.
In that moment, but I bet that was scary for you both. You was fine, but you just left your husband, and you was just in the ocean hoping, I hope she gets back to me.
Yeah, I can honestly say, watching your boat sail away is not the best feeling you've ever had. I mean, I think we were in 10,000 feet of water, and I mean, I'm not afraid of the water by any means, but certainly you can freak yourself out pretty well, right?
How long did
trying to, like, keep the body calm enough to wait and give her a couple of passes to figure this out. You know, I mean, yeah, not our best day, but that's interesting. I wouldn't have listed it as the scariest.
I will never forget it. It was very scary.
How long did it take for you to get to him?
Oh, wow. Good question.
I don't think we have any concept of time. It took her three passes,
I
right?
probably guessed 20 minutes, but that's a total guess. Because, you know, when you're in like a crazy wild moment, time no longer makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I bet it felt like a long time though. Like, you're just there, like, in the water on your own, and you was just like trying to drive this boat, like, don't know what you're doing.
Well, without getting into technical boating terms, which we might not even understand fully, you know, you do a figure eight, right? To kind of come around and get behind them and get in a position where you can grab them, which Jen executed perfectly all 3 times. But it took me until the third time to realize she wasn't figuring out how to stop the boat, right? So she would just fly by me in the perfect location. And so the third time I was like, okay, we may not get another pass at this. Like we
He
gotta,
was getting fatigued.
yeah, I was getting tired, right? And I'm sure it was heart rate and everything else. I mean, to say like it's not, I don't look back and think about being scared. I think about it being stupid. But sure, like no doubt the body was working overtime.
Yeah.
And so as she came around the third time, I swam between the hulls on our boat. So the boat went right over top of me. And then I just grabbed onto the engine that hangs off of our dinghy, which is like our mini boat, and drug along for a little while and then just like heaved myself onto the boat. This is not the right way, just to be clear.
But
This is not textbook by any means.
Yeah.
And so now we've learned so many things. And this is why we also say maybe taking lessons is a really good idea, right? Like you don't want to put yourself in those scenarios ever. But certainly learned a lot along the way.
And that's when we'd been on our boat for like 9 months.
Yeah.
That was very early on.
Yeah. Yeah. But now like you're having people on board and stuff now. I'm sure you know everything now, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, you can never learn everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible. What that did, I think, which was, I think, really healthy for us, is it pointed out just how reckless we had been and just how bad things can go. Right. And so that elevated very rapidly what was, oh, we'll learn as we go, to like, oh, wait, there's a reason that we need to really, do this in a different way. Yeah. So then we started truly doing the lessons and the drills and all the things, so that they're never fun, right? You don't want to go move a big expensive boat around to do something you're scared to do. Yeah. But it's that muscle again, right? If you do it when things aren't bad, then you've got the muscle memory to help you when things do go bad, right? Yeah. I mean, I would say that's true anywhere from a man overboard drill on a boat to communication in a relationship, right? And we talk about this all the time. The fact that we live in such a tight space and we're forced to talk about everything to not drive each other crazy is probably why when the big things happen, they're pretty easy, right? Like we don't really, I mean, comparatively speaking, they seem pretty easy.
Yes.
It's a dialogue, right? It's us hurting each other's feelings, not, a fight where we're throwing things across the room, which we've got friends who do. And so it's just, I don't know. I think it's practice like anything else, right? I mean, the easiest way to not be afraid of something is to do a smaller version of it again and again and again until you get there. Cool. I don't really love skydiving, but obviously jumping out of a plane attached to somebody else is a lot less scary than jumping out of a plane without being attached to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty valid train of thought.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any regrets at all?
That we didn't go sooner.
Okay, that's a good one.
I don't have any regrets.
Yeah, we really live that way. I mean, we also feel really lucky about that. I mean, we're both pretty estranged from family. Our friends are obviously very separate from us. So we sometimes joke that, the two human emotions that we are lucky enough to not have to deal with very often are obligation and regret. And that in and of itself is so incredibly freeing, because those two things can actually trap somebody just as fast and just as deeply as fear, right? And or one can cloak as the other one, right? So you can think you're afraid, but really you feel an obligation to someone else, or you can think it's an obligation, but you're really just afraid. Both of those hats can be worn and not really understand which one you're wearing, right?
Yeah, 110% agree. So if there was anybody that is in your old position before you decided to do all of this, what would you say to them now? Like if they're still feeling stuck, because a lot of people are. If I'd say over 90% are feeling stuck in their own mind, not just their life, their mind. What would you say to them from your
Fall
personal?
in love with the neighbor next door and do whatever she says. Oh, no. It's not that easy. Not that easy.
No, I would say if there's something that you want to go after, but you're just overwhelmed with all the details, just remember that whatever decision you make is not a forever decision. That decision you'd be making is what you're making right now, but you're not tied to it forever. If it doesn't feel right, or if you can't solve all the things to make it the most beautiful thing that you had envisioned, you can always adjust. You can always make a new decision.
This was big for me, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
this was one of those counseling moments, I think. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a few things that Jen just repeated on loop, like leap and the net will appear. And we still do it all the time as we make decisions now. Like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Like, that's a great mindset to enter anything from. But back in the day when Jen would just keep saying, oh, we can always go back. I was like, no, we can't. That job's not going to be there. We're not going to have the skills. We're not, like, I had a million excuses why that just couldn't be true.
Yeah.
She was so right. I mean, it's at least compared to the new, different, scary thing that you're about to go do, that life is a known entity. You've already lived in an apartment. You've already gone to work every day. You've figured out the bus routes. You might not even decide to go back to that same city, but if you wanted to, it's there. It's so easy. It's already a known entity. You can go back at any point, and it might be a little different. You'll want it to be different, but that's so freeing in a way that I just kick myself for not being able to see it before, right? I couldn't see that until we got several steps along to then look back and go, oh yeah, oh, that's so easy. Like, we can always go do that.
Well, I believe that if you're not happy, do whatever you think you need to do to make yourself happy. And if that doesn't make you happy, you're going to then have new ideas of what will make you happy. So, but not being happy and not feeling free, all those things,
Why?
you have one wonderful, beautiful life to do whatever you want. Do it. Do that thing that you really, really want. Spend your time doing those things that really make you feel good. Of course, there's chores and there's routine and there's obligation. That's all going to be a part of it, but it can be a smaller part, and your
Yeah.
passion can be the focus.
Yeah.
Part.
That should be everybody's life, but it's just roles reversed. I don't know
Yeah.
how. Well, I don't. It's just how what we were born into it, I guess.
Yes.
We have the people that work on themselves kind of get out of it, but the people that just believe in society and the rat race and all of this, they kind of stick. So
Yeah.
I think society has worked really hard for a couple 100 years to create this set of confines that we all live in, right? We have to buy more things to be happy, which means we got to work harder to buy more things, and everybody else is doing it. So the second you try to make change, you're like a salmon swimming upstream, right? I mean, you're just going the wrong direction in a crowd, and it's so much easier to just turn and go with the flow, but you're never going to get there, right? I mean, we met so many people, even in the Caribbean, in our first couple years, where their dream, at least one of their dreams, maybe not both of them, was to live on a boat, right? So they put it out there after the kids graduate, after, we're going to retire, sell everything, move on to a boat. And they did all that work, all that scary stuff to get on the boat. Maybe they're 30 days in, 60 days in, and they realize it's not really their dream. They hate it. They either don't know each other well enough, they're not used to spending time together. They don't like the work of being on a boat. They don't enjoy the water that much. And so now suddenly, they're in their 60s and they're having to reevaluate what they even want to do that is their dream.
yeah.
And we're always like, well, didn't you go charter a boat one summer? Or didn't you go, try a piece of this on or spend more time together? And it seems so crazy from the other side that this is what we're told to do. We're told to go to work and wait until you're 68 or whatever it is to then go live your life. As where, I mean, at least now that even terrified Bryan, now that I'm on the other side, it's just not, it's so unfair, right? Like, why wouldn't we go try things on to see if it's even what we really want? And then that knowledge can help us figure out what the next step is. Even if that first step was in completely the wrong direction, at least I've got enough time left to figure it out, right? To figure out what actually makes me happy. That's all that matters, right?
I read something the other day, actually. It was saying how, like, we always class like middle age being like 50, 40 to 50. And then obviously, I'm leaving here soon. And I was actually, the middle age is actually in your 30s, where you should, because you do, after that age, you kind of like start to slow down. So it is like my age now, I'm like 30, nearly 35, where you should be living and you should be experiencing new things, because if you're waiting and waiting and waiting, just like Bryan's just said, sometimes it is just too late, and then you have the regret or the wishing, I wish I did do that sooner. But just exactly how you just said that.
Yeah.
And we're now getting to an age where we're like, wow, I mean, this lifestyle, not that everybody listening wants this lifestyle, it's not for everybody, but it's a very hard lifestyle. I mean, it's beautiful and it's magical, but it's hard on the body and there's a lot of work. So we're already having conversations, you know, as we choose our next life path or the turn, do we still want to do this? How much longer do we want to do this? And we're pretty sure, even if everything goes well with health and everything else, maybe a decade, right? It's probably more like a 6 to 9 year window for us. And so it's interesting, because what if we had not done it? What if we waited until now and we suddenly felt all this pressure to get there or to never do it, as where we feel so lucky that we took the risk and did it and have lived. I mean, even with the van, actually, which was our best life before we tried this one, like 13 years of just pure bliss and following happiness. And I don't know, it so takes the weight off of what comes next, because we didn't just stockpile it waiting for that day to go do something, whatever that something is.
I wondered if you would have enjoyed it as much if you did wait until you was older. We'll never know, but you never know. But it's just crazy how I just love how you've just done it. That's the best thing. What's next in store for you guys? I know you said you don't know, but like, are you thinking of just staying there for a bit? Are you thinking of going back on the boat, the van, or are you going to be staying in apartments?
Well, all of them are on the table. All of the options are in our discussion. We're talking about it all the time, and we're, like we said at the beginning, we're just really kind of waiting to see about a couple things. If our boat that's for sale in Tahiti, if it sells, then we've got a couple options that we don't have if it doesn't sell. And if it doesn't sell, we actually realized that we'd be quite happy living on her longer. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we met you in London, we were just sitting at this crossroads. We're like, we have to do something financially driven, obviously, as it often is. And we just took our fridge and started writing sticky notes and putting all the various options and possibilities and life paths on the fridge that we could conceive of. And it was incredible, because for me, that would have been a terrifying conversation a few years ago. But as we put them up there, we finally just had this moment, we're like, wow, like all of those sound amazing. Like those are all things we still want to do in life, right? And we might not want to do them right now, but to really think through and kind of give yourself that freedom to say, wow, I could go live in a van again. I could stay on this boat and stay in French Polynesia for 5 more years. I could move into a van and, you know, travel South America and Africa and Europe. Like, yes, like all of those things sound amazing, right? And so we're kind of in that place where we're trying to embrace Jen's ideas again and just kind of let the universe nudge us in a certain direction. And if it doesn't nudge after X, then we'll go back to our life before, which the longer we're away, the more we realize exactly how much we loved it. So that's also a win-win, right?
Amazing. Either way, it's going to be absolutely fine. You're going to enjoy it either way. And do you think that list that you got on the fridge, you're going to be able to do all of them at some point, whether it's just not right now?
I think so.
As long as we live long enough to do it. I mean,
I think so.
We certainly hope so. Yeah. I mean, we've never really had like a bucket list, right? Yeah. Like most people kind of put together, or some people put together a bucket list. I feel like we've always just said, what's at the top of the list? Let's go do that. Like whatever the most exciting thing is, let's go do that, but not for 10 days, not for 2 weeks. Let's go do and live that lifestyle. And then when we don't want to anymore, we're gonna do something else. And so that's kind of what's happening, I think, as we, you know, almost backpacked around or Airbnb hopped around Europe, is, you know, we realized how much we still want to do that more for longer, but it also still fell down the list to these other things that are still more water related and boat related, right? And so I don't know, again, we still feel like we're just learning as we go, right? We have none of the answers.
Yeah.
or very few of the answers, but we're thrilled to be learning it the way we are. And we wouldn't change anything about it except for whenever we wake up and decide we're done with it, right? Whenever you're done with that one, it's a great time to move on to the next one.
Yeah. And we love to share our story and our experience, and we love to hear other people's stories and their experiences, because honestly, it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. It matters that each of us finds what is going to make us feel like we're the happiest and finding the most peace and the most fulfillment while we're human beings, and being inspired by the ones around us to help us learn and learn more about what we really want. So thanks for
Which is why we're going to do this again tomorrow, but we're going to talk about you, right?
You can come back on. I've literally enjoyed having you on so much. Thank you so much for coming. Is there anything you would like to add on, ask me? You want to tell anybody anything?
What are you most excited about in the next year?
Just opportunities, like not knowing. It's a scary bit, but the not knowing, because I'm going into like an era of excitedness. Like I feel like I've just stepped into a different kind of world, and I know that sounds crazy. Probably not to you guys, but like,
it lights us up to hear you. It's wonderful.
It feels like that. I feel like I have literally just stepped out, but I'm taking the parts of my life that I really enjoy with me, like my coaching, my clients, my friends, them sort of things. But then like I've got, my eyes have just massively opened to like what I can actually achieve and how many people I can help, and just like the world is massive. And I was getting stressed over just like selling a property, and I'm like, it's tiny compared to how big the world is. Stop stressing me, like it's nothing, it's just a few bricks. Like, so just like the whole perspective of like opportunities, like I don't have a plan, and that's the best thing.
Yeah, I think we share that that feeling of enjoying self-expansion, when you feel that you're like expanding in your vision, in your perspective, and in your knowledge of yourself. Like that's a really cool thing.
You learn a lot about yourself. Like I'm literally learning loads. I'm still studying. I've got like mentors. I've got all of this, and I'm just, I think that's just like keeping me like going. It's really good. Like I literally love growing and seeing how, as I grow, like things around me are changing, and like people around me, like I can see like the different types of people I have around me. Like you, like I wouldn't have known you guys, and like it's just, I just match the energy, don't you? It's just different. It's just really good. Just
And the more that we interact with people different than us, the more we realize, whoa, there are even more differences in this is a pretty big earth, like, and then there's, beyond earth, who we don't even know about yet, but we all, like, we're the same, but we're different at the same time.
Exactly. And I think that's a great thing. Like before, I don't want to like put people down or anything like that, but do you know when you've got people that are doing the same thing, and they don't really see the beyond, they don't, they're very, I don't know, they don't see the opportunities. So I kind of don't tell them a lot of what I'm doing, because they'll be quick to say that's not going to work because of this, that, and the other. So I just keep a lot to myself. I don't say a lot to many people, because I know their perspective is completely different to mine, because I can feel it, I can see it. Other people are doing it. If you can vision it, you can see it. It can definitely happen. So I just keep a lot to myself, because I just don't want their perspective coming onto me. So.
It's really smart. I mean, it took us several years to realize that, because we were so excited. We wanted to share with everybody what we were doing, and every single person, right? I mean, I don't think they meant to. They weren't trying to crush our dreams, but the response was just, oh my God, that's stupid. You can't do that. You're going to fail. You're never going to make it. You can't. And it's horrible, right? And then at some point you just say, well, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody. And then instead of telling them that you can and having the battle, you just wait until you say I did. And it's a completely different conversation.
It's easy to do it without not telling them, because all they do is project their fears onto you, because they wouldn't do it. It's just the way that they see it. But if you've already got fear about doing it, because obviously you're doing something brand new, it just adds to it. It's just a lot easier just to keep your head down. Like I'll tell people like that have done it, or they're doing it, or that I know that they've got like the same sort of like I don't even know the perspective. But apart from that, I'll just keep it to myself. It's a lot easier and simpler. So I don't.
This is the beauty. This is the beauty in stumbling upon like-minded people like yourself, right?
We support you.
Yeah, I mean, then suddenly you find yourself. I think we all grow up assuming that our family and our given friends are just naturally going to be the ones to help us grow, right? And that's just typically not the case, because they happen to be the thing you already knew, not the thing that you're trying to go learn.
Yeah.
And so when you stumble into other people like this, or groups of people, where then you find yourself in a conversation of just mutual support and people actually being like, well, why haven't you already done that? Or why aren't you going tomorrow? It's just so transformative, right? I mean, it's like a slingshot moving you on to that next thing, because, you know, we can honestly tell you, we remember sitting in that fear about that pile of bricks. And we can also remember X months down the road where we're like, oh, I forgot I even felt that way.
Yeah.
It's completely gone, as where while you're in it, it feels like it's everything. And yeah, I'm so stoked for you. We're so stoked for you.
Yeah.
And you guys, every life is so exciting. It's just sometimes the mind takes over a little bit, doesn't it? And this is why it's really good to have like-minded people sharing their stories, because if we can do it, so many other people can. But sometimes you need that light bulb moment. If I can be that light bulb moment just for 1 or 2 people, I'm happy. Before I went into coaching, I was like, if I can help 5 people, I'll be happy. I've gone through everything to help them. That's gone, and now like my vision is like 5 people, 5,000 people. It's just been bigger and bigger. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been so good.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Great. Are you going to come back on another time?
Yes.
Happy to. I mean, you're actually making us think we should start our own podcast. This is great. Yeah, you're actually making this really fun. And we actually, typically our biggest fear has been this, like being in front of a camera or talking to other people. So yeah, good work. You're making this look easy.
Thank you very much. But anyway, yeah, I will put this on and I will send you everything. And thank you for coming. And it's just been a pleasure to have you both. Thank
Connect
you.
with you.
Bye. Bye-bye.